Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Sorry for my Greek, but it's really poor, less than basic. I cannot get much farther than Kalispera, so that's as far as I can get with my Greek. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me for this keynote. I come from a very different background because I have a background in location and geospatial solutions, real-time locations, and these technologies, as we can see, or we will see in the next half an hour, essentially, have a tremendous use now also in medical approaches, and in our daily life as well. Let me start with a nice just joke, just to let you see the perspective where I'm looking at the problem right now. So we are there. So the point is that whenever you're outside, you use GPS. When you're inside, you're lost. Now, from this, we'll see how we can get to something that is useful to these communities. So I believe that in the next minutes, I'll be entertaining you also to see where the advantage of this technology can be. First of all, some introduction. This is where I come from. This is where my office is. Not exactly this, but this is the region at least. So you can get the feeling. That's in the north of Italy, in the Alps. And as a company, we are quite innovative. We have developed a number of solutions. We have been selected among the 10 most innovative companies by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and we have been also invited at City to make some future talk presentation. Enough. Where is the point with the indoor location in the medical domain? Where is the point with the indoor location when you're talking about management of medical assets? Now, before we go into the real keynote, which will bring a little bit of background, let me show right to the point, which is the focus of this. Think of medical devices. Think of tracking medical devices. Now, according to general lectures, this is just figures in the literature. The number of mobile devices per bed have increased enormously over the last few years. Now, this brings a significant increase in maintenance cost. So that's plus 62%. This means that invisibility of medical assets is skyrocketing. You don't find them. Too many of them. You don't find them. Maybe they are just in the closet, or maybe they have gone outside the facilities. According to figures, recent figures, every nurse spends, on average, 21 minutes per shift in looking for devices. So not his or her core activities, which is taking care of patients, but looking for devices. If you are professionally taking care of those devices, maintaining them, probably 3/4 of your time is being wasted in hiding sick games, looking for devices. And this, of course, has got an enormous impact in terms of over-procurement. You don't find devices, you buy more. And that's the figures. And again, this is an average. But again, probably the real figures can be very different. They're also higher than this. Symmetrically, you have very poor usage level in medical devices. This means, of course, again, that this is a cost. So we're not optimizing, essentially, what we have. Now, if you look at the return of investment when you install a real-time location system, that means essentially that you are able, through some sort of technology, to know exactly where each of the devices is, to get a return of investment in the 5 figures digit per year for a hospital of 200 beds. And if your hospital is even bigger, then you skyrocket. So the return on investment is enormous. This is the kind of technology that was starting from the US, where private health is essentially private. Health system is essentially private, but it's catching up very fast in Europe. Now, this is where I'm going to get to. Now, let me bring you to that point. So that's where the keynote starts. That is more to get you straight to the point. Now, as you all know, we spend the majority of our time indoor, we like it or not, be it at home, in the office, shopping, transportation, you name it. Now, if we get a little bit more philosophical, we are in Athens after all. The concept of being indoor and outdoor is now stretching. Sometimes we are in the office, and this is very clear that we are indoor. Sometimes we are in spaces where it's not very clear whether we are indoor or outdoor. This is an amusement park, the largest amusement park in the world. And sometimes if you get to shopping malls, you have indoor spaces that look like outdoor spaces. So this is not a new concept. We have it everywhere in history, also in Athens. But what is really important that these stretches the concept of what is called location and place and location-based services. So I'm trying to bring you to the concept of location, and then we'll step into the medical domain. So when you come to location, you have the double figure. You locate objects, but you also locate people. And in this case, you locate patients. So let's think of patients, and we'll be there in a minute. So how do I get from this to this? So I want to be in a hospital where I can find people, I can route people to get from A to B, and I can find also medical devices. This means essentially that you create a smarter environment. It can be smarter mobility, because you can actually, now we are installing, for instance, this technology within the hospital in Italy, and we help visitors through the public transport system get to the doorstep of the hospital. It can be smarter business, because, for instance, we do some very high-tech location-based services for asset management. But to do this, we need to understand, first of all, which are the requirements. And the requirements from the public sector, from the hospitals, to see exactly what they need. Now, if we look at the market perspective, what I'm talking about as an enormous potential. Well, several studies all disagree on figures, but they all agree that the market potential of all this technology is extremely significant, or will be extremely significant over the next few days. Now, let me go through a conceptual model I'm trying to bring forward. Now, these location-based technologies certainly have the potential of an opportunity. They require us to be smarter. They enable us to be smarter. Let's see which are the enabling tools of all this. Now we have mobile communication, mobile phones. You might not know it, but your mobile phone actually can do some location-based services. And the mobile phone now is changing profoundly the way we also deal with the technology. We always have it with us. IoT, we will see today that IoT plays a big part, the Internet of Things play also a big part of all this enablement of medical devices. Smart technology, smart appliances, smart sensors, we will see the use of smart sensors also in the health domain. Smart portable devices, and again we are talking about smart watches, and we can see how this can enter into the game. Smart displays, and I'll show you also a couple of examples later today. We also enter the concept of wearable visualization. This might seem like a little futurish thing, but it's not. This is one of the technology we are now using with our prototype, with our technologies, for maintenance in industrial domains, and this will be essentially used in other domains like the medical domains. I like also to bring this one because this is the DIY, the do-it-yourself version of this. But what is really important from my perspective is the cultural change. In other words, when you're using your mobile phone, now you are used to use geographical information system, the GPS. When you go on holiday, you use the GPS. But when you enter the shopping mall or when you enter the hospital, the GPS doesn't work. So that's where you get the frustration, and this is where we can step in. So there is a cultural change where everybody is used to use location, position, to drive businesses and opportunities. Now, let's get now more technical. You might not know, as I said before, but your mobile phone, or the most recent ones, are already providing some form of indoor location-based services. So they are able to locate you inside the building, not outside, also inside the building. And this is an essential part of the game. There are a number of promising technologies out there. Some of them are high-tech, and we will see some of them. Some of them use what is called ultra-wideband or ZP. Let's say several technologies that can help locate people inside. Some of them are really low-tech. For instance, in the hospital in Rovereto, we are using QR codes to help people locate themselves within the hospital. When you get lost, you point at a QR code and the system tells you, you have to go 2 stories up. That's enough. So sometimes it can be also very low-tech. Now, what will survive? I don't know, that's survival of the fittest, Darwin used to say. So what we really need is an ecosystem. The ecosystem means something that is a software that allows to abstract, so to disconnect from the hardware. And this is what we are doing. So we are trying to decouple the software from the hardware so that whatever we do, in this case, location-based services for the medical domain, do not depend on hardware. The hardware changes on a daily basis, and we don't want to depend on this. There is a big risk in using these technologies. Data security and privacy, of course, is probably the single most important issue here. Essentially, at this point, we know where you are, what you're doing, where you're moving, which are your preferences. So it gets a little bit tricky. There are also legal problems related to privacy and security. The other problem is standards and interoperability. I have the pleasure of and honor of chairing one of the standards group doing all this standardization, and it's very important. If each single technology uses their own approach, we go nowhere. The point that GPS was very successful is there is one GPS. When you're outdoors, there is one GPS. And wherever you go, you just connect to that satellite system to locate you. When you are indoors, it's different, because you don't have one system, you have many. So the problem here is to create what is called interoperability. Connect different technologies to the devices so that they speak the same language. And standards are not like interoperability. And these standards, in these domains, are a little bit cryptic, and no one, I mean, a very small community of experts can really deal with these standards. So we have to promote also these new standards. I like to show this. If I tell you this is the reference standard right now in the domain, you will be like, oh, what is this? So they are very, very niche. Now, the point that I'm trying to make, so I'm trying to bring some points, is that we need to do things based on standards, and we will see also the advantage of it. Ultimately, I'm going to get to a project, which is also UNCAP, where standards are one of the pillars of the project. So if you feel that you are getting lost right now, confused, you're in the right place. But don't worry, I hope that in the next few minutes it will become clearer and clearer and clearer. So let's try to have a kind of evolution through a number of projects, and I will show you how these projects, one after the other, are bringing us to the development of innovative solutions, also for the asset management and domain. So let me start from the first. In fact, it's not the first, it's the zeros, because it's the mother of all projects. So that's where we all started as a company. And this project is called MEPI. MEPI stands for Medical Equipment Profiling and Identification. Essentially, now we're getting into the medical domain, as you can see in the asset management, we have developed a solution that now is a product, but at that time it was a project, that could be used to locate medical assets with these devices, tags. You attach a tag to one of those devices and then you can locate it within the building. And the target users for us were hospitals, retirement house, healthcare centers. Imagine that if you have an high-intensity care environment, like emergency, you have many devices, so you want to know exactly where they are to optimize it. But if you have a low-intensity care environment, like a retirement house, you only have a few. You have another problem. Those few, you want to know where they are. The stakeholders for us are the doctor, nurses, or clinical engineers, multi-service provider maybe. But you might wonder now, why do I need these technologies, which is real-time location system, RTLS? Why do I need them? And now I'll tell you the true story, that where everything began, at least for us. The story goes that we were partnering up with a company doing maintenance of medical assets. This is the hospital in Bolzano. This is in North Italy, next to our office. And the story goes that these guys were actually, they won a tender to maintain all these devices, which they would take. And they planned they would take probably a few days to do all the maintenance, because they have accounted like 5 items per day, and in a number of days they would be finished. The point was that they couldn't find those devices. So it took them 5, if not 10 times longer than expected to carry on the job, because they couldn't not find those devices. So that's where the problem started actually. So where we stepped in, we were asked to develop a solution that could be used for real-time location of assets, medical assets. And what we developed was a solution which is actually capable of high accuracy. It goes up to half a meter. So you know, with a half-meter precision where your medical assets are, you can connect a very large amount of devices, and it's very easy to use. Now, let me show you a couple of examples of videos, just to see what I mean. The example of MEPI, for instance. So what we do is that imagine that you have any sort of devices. You attach this tag, or one of those tags. There are several technologies we'll see today. And through those tags, what you can do is that you can, in real time, see where the objects are. For instance, in our office, this is our office, we put them everywhere. Fire extinguishers, literally, whatever you want. Now, if you move it, these devices have got an accelerator. Whenever you move them, they update their position. So in this case, we attached it to an infusion pump, and whenever someone moves that infusion pump, that position is updated. Then we had to install a few antennas, little antennas inside the building to make sure that actually the infrastructure could work. And once you have done all this, it's finished. That's the only infrastructure you need. All these antennas essentially collect the information coming from the sensor, and then they just send this to a mini PC, and from that point on, the position is known. Knowing the position means that through our software, you can see where everything is on a map. So in this case, the software that we have developed can show you on a map in real time where the objects are. For instance, in this case, you can see the flashing red. That's the infusion pump. When someone moves the infusion pump, you can see it moving in real time. And then at that point, once you find it, then you can start your maintenance. So simple at the same time, but very effective. So you can see now with the infusion pump, the green flashing thing is moving up to the corridor and then up to the meeting room. And then once you find it, you can start your maintenance. Now, let me move you farther to the next slide. So starting from that first experience, we actually started a new project. Actually, we were involved in a new project, which is funded by the European Commission. We are involved in this as a partner, which is called 5-STAR. 5-STAR is a future internet project. Welcome to the future. The point is the Commission is investing an enormous amount of money to create what is called 5-Way, which is a future internet platform to deliver what future internet will be. There is let's say, an approach, a very complicated approach for a service-oriented internet. Basically, you connect to the internet and the device will speak together in a very clever way. Now, as you might know, the need for future internet rose because the internet that we have today is very different from the internet that was designed a few decades ago. Essentially now you have, I like this picture because this is an old Mac with a touch screen. So what you have now, it's something which is like the old device, the old Mac, but you want it to have a touch screen. That's the internet like as it is today. We have the internet, but it's not exactly fit to do what it is supposed to be doing now because it's the old internet. Things now have changed. I mean, you go shopping and you scan devices to know where the additional information. This is our internet today. It's not yesterday's internet. And in tomorrow's network society, the internet we know today will be very different. And the idea is that in the digital revolution, this will be the internet. So our device will be connected to the rest of the devices, and essentially everything becomes a service available from the internet. So we go beyond the concept of cloud, beyond the concept of a hosting. And the idea is that application have to be able to communicate in a seamless manner. So this is what we call the future internet, or if you like, also the concept of Internet of Things. And we will see that this becomes very relevant also in the asset management. There is a backside to it. Once you start connecting all these devices and you know where everything is, you end up with a problem. And the problem is big data. Because you have an amount of data which is incredible. You have to also analyze that amount. So the Commission is essentially financing an initiative which is called 5PPP, which stands for Future Internet Private-Public Partnership. And this is about creating new opportunities based on the future internet. I won't bore you on that because it gets too technical. If some of you is interested, this is the roadmap, and I can talk about this in detail. But let me get to the point where we are. 5-STAR is this one. So 5-STAR, it's the future internet project of the Commission using 5-STAR for the medical domain. And that's where it stands in the big picture of the other future internet projects. Now, a little bit of focus on 5-STAR. 5-STAR is a big project. It's a multi-million project. We are talking about 16 million projects worth with a number of partners. And the goal is to create an environment for healthcare, an ecosystem for healthcare that is based on future internet technologies. And this is based on a very complicated concept. I'm not going into the detail. Take it as is, which are called generic enablers. Essentially, you have building blocks fit for a purpose, and these building blocks can be reused within this future internet vision to do many things. And the idea is to move from software to data. So you take a generic enabler like Lego blocks. You take it, you use it, you don't care about what's inside it, you just process the data and do whatever you need. And in this case, in the concept of 5-STAR, this is specifically done for the medical domain. And the idea is to create more accurate service, more performing service that can help you become more autonomous as a medical doctor or as a patient, if you like. And practically, it's developing, again, this very complicated infrastructure for health. Where is the location, you might wonder. Now, 5-star actually started the call, that was back in 2013, where they wanted to have new partners. And they said, we will bring in new partners with new money from the Commission, and we want to do these things. We want to real-time processing of data, new reminding service for patients, all doing future internet technology. We want to create a marketplace, like the Apple or Android marketplace, a deployment tool. We want to make also geofencing. Geofencing. So geofencing means actually something which is related to space, location, and that's where we stepped in. So does it ring the bell? The concept is that this future internet says we have the opportunity to use location and create a future internet infrastructure that can be used for health. In this case, for location of medical devices and people. So exactly what we've been talking about. Now, the idea of developing this generic enabler, which is the building block, the Lego block, as I was mentioning it, it's very complicated. So I'm not going into details of it. Take it as it is. If you want, just to make sure that I'm proving that I've done my homework, I have some complicated picture, but I'm not commenting it. It's complicated, but it works somehow. So just let me give you a little bit of perspective where this concept of generic enabler comes from. It comes from the future internet platform of the Commission. It's called Fireware. Okay. Fireware, it's an initiative where the Commission is spending millions on future internet, and our goal, well, at least the goal of Firewire is this one. So reduce complexity. Start from this and get to this. Essentially to something which is made of building blocks. One of these building blocks is the one that we are developing, again, to locate people, patients, and medical devices. The specifications of Firewire are free, open. Technology might not be open, but the specifications are open. So in theory, you know how it works. Inside, you might not know exactly how it works. But why on earth a future internet project on health needs location, real-time location-based system? So back to 5-star. Now, if I tell you a couple of use cases, and this is my next slide, you immediately understand why you need location. Point number 1, that's it. So location, there you go. Point number 2, now you know this, because I was showing at the beginning, that's where location steps in. Point number 3, location of patients. You wake up and you move, you are an elderly person, you are living on your own, and something happens to you, you fall down. This is location. Hospital robot navigation, there you go, again, location. So the idea of geofencing, of this geofencing enabler, is that you have a building block, a Lego block for this future internet vision, and what you do is that you start locating those points. Those points can be people, can be medical devices, maybe other medical devices, and maybe more medical devices, and so on and so forth. But then you start defining areas. And if something happens, if one of those devices comes in or out of the area, then you get an alert. And we have been reusing a number of technologies because in the logic of building blocks, you also want to use other building blocks, but I'm not going into detail. But most importantly, we have used a number of location technologies. And now we go back to the previous slide that I was showing you. So we are essentially locating people through those antennas that you've seen before, but also through cameras. For instance, we have developed a technology that can be used to locate people within a room. Now I'm showing a video, don't get scared, because it looks like a Big Brother. So that's our office. And you can see that as soon as a person steps up, then the system starts tracking the person. And then you will see that this is nasty because there's another person coming in, they overlap, but the system still is clever enough to understand where which person is which. And imagine this applied to movement of people, for instance, elderly people. This is what we're doing in UNCAP. Now, the beauty of this is that we do it with medical devices. So forget about people because we have privacy problems right now. So we do it with medical devices, and you're always able to get this. This is a picture of neonatology at the Central Hospital in Trento. These are the various devices there are within neonatology. You know exactly where each single device is at any given moment. And we are testing it in a number of pilot sites. That's really five-star. Norway, UK, Spain, Italy, Romania, Poland, Germany. These are the test sites. Additionally, we are also providing an additional test site in Trento, which is house for the elderly. We will soon start with them also very advanced pilots with tracking of people, which will be also integrated in our app. So we've seen Project 0, Project first, Project 1, and then we'll go for Project 2. Project 2 is iCore. iCore is an FP7, just finished. So what I'm trying to show you is a thin red line across several projects to see how we have developed over the years this technology. Again, this is a big project, many partners being involved in this project. The rationale between iCore is that it's the Internet of Things. So objects being connected, and we are talking in millions being connected. The main problem with Internet of Things is that it's all nice. The problem is that you get that with an enormous amount of data, and you have to make sense out of this data. This is the real challenge of Internet of Things. The concept of iCore was to infer real-world knowledge. Okay, real-world knowledge means that in this picture I'm at home, and I understand the concept of being at home. Let me give you an example. The idea of this concept of real-world knowledge. So you have the real-world knowledge, which is let's say the real world where we live in. This is the real world. Then you have sensors everywhere. Imagine you're in the hospital. You sense temperature. You sense the number of people. You sense the location of devices. This is done through sensors. And of course, this changes over time, and this produces big data. As I mentioned before, the problem is big data. But from this big data, you have pattern. For instance, a medical device is constantly moving back and forth, and then you find out that infusion pump is never used. So that means that behind this big data, there are patterns that can be inferred. This pattern can be virtualized, can be modeled in a computer term, it can be interpreted. And then if you can derive models that can be used to predict those patterns, then you have what is called real-world knowledge, and then you have what is called system knowledge. Let me give you an example, because it becomes clear. You are using an infusion pump, I always like to use the term infusion pump, only within a certain time frame. The system understands that an infusion pump is only used from 8 to 12, and then from 14 to 16. In the vision of the future internet or the Internet of Things, at that point, the system might automatically power down the infusion pump outside that working hours, automatically. So that's the vision of the Internet of Things. And as usual, there is a very complicated architecture that I'm not going to detail by any means, but believe me, it's complicated, but it works. So I'll try to abstract a little bit over the picture. So imagine you have what they call a registry now, and you have what they call simple objects, virtual objects. This is what it means. So I like to put it in practice. So that means that if you have an infusion pump, or if you have any other device, anything really, you just attach a device. That for us is a virtual object. Then they have what is called complex virtual objects. This is a complex virtual object. For instance, you have a tray with all the devices, and each of them has got a tab. And then you have what is called real-world knowledge. This is to me real-world knowledge. Okay. So I'm trying to bridge again between software and the real life. Now, which is the problem now? The problem of iLocate was to track and optimize the use of location technology within a hospital. And in this case, the hospital is, because it is still using it, the hospital in Trento. So the idea is to enable a system that can be used to query the position of those medical devices within the hospital in real time, again, for maintenance use. There we go. Exactly the same problem. Why? Because finding those devices is challenging, it's expensive because you spend time, and because devices are lost. Sometimes are stolen. Sometimes they reappear when they are broken, so ready for maintenance, and then disappear again. And this is, of course, unsustainable. So again, I'm not going through the architecture, but this is the final interface. So in other words, through the system, you can see where the objects are in a very clear way. And now the system is in use, actually. we are very pleased to know this. This is being used at the hospital in Trento, the main hospital. As I said, at the neonatology unit. Let me give you a couple of pictures when the system was installed. Actually, from the setup point of view, it's all about attaching those tags to the device. It's very simple. Let me show you a video so that you can see that I'm not claiming things will work. Otherwise, it looks like PowerPoint engineering. So that's the guy at the hospital. In real time, you can see that he has a list of devices on the left-hand side, and then the right is the panel, and he's the map, and he's looking for one of those devices. And you can see that now it starts moving, and in fact, the device is in the air. Selecting another one, and so once he knows where the device is, then it's ready to go. As simple as that. So a maintenance engineer basically is like going there immediately, without any doubt. And again, sometimes it's not exactly simple to find all devices, especially in very complicated environments like hospitals. And then you can see the devices. Now, the application use cases: tracking devices within the hospital, so medical devices. The idea again to infer usage of those medical devices. Drive operational pattern. The manager of the hospital said, I want to know which are the devices that are not used. If I don't need them, I cut costs. I reduce the number of devices. As simple as that. Then tracking of people and visitors, because at that point you can also track the behavior of people. And again, you can do it for optimization purposes. And then we can also do other side effect things like tracking people for marketing purposes, but this is another story. Now, the third project, which is a variation of the previous one, it's called iLocate. It's an ICT PSP project that I have the pleasure to coordinate. Again, it's another big project, a number of partners. And let me give you a brief about what iLocate is about. Right. Okay, so that's an overview of the project. And of course, this technology can be used in many, many domains, including the medical domain. The point where iLocate started is that we had all that beautiful technology, but it was not interoperable. And as I mentioned at the beginning, interoperability is an essential part of all this game. If we want this to work, it has to be interoperable. So the essential starting point was this, the lack of technological ecosystem, the lack of standards. And that's where iLocate stepped in. This is not a research project, this is an innovation project that is bringing products, new products. And it all started again from the real hospital. So this is the hospital in Trento. This is navigation. This is navigation 2.0. This is how you help people get from A to B within the hospital in Trento. If you get to the hospital and you get visited and you have to see a doctor, they say, follow the red line and then it's the second door to the right. Cool, I think we can do better than this. I mean, this is the 13th amendment. So the idea was, okay, keep calm, we can improve this. It's easier at least to improve that one. It's zero tech. So let's try and support, for instance, clinical path through location technologies. So oversimplifying, you get from that point to this point. So from red lines and green lines and yellow lines from all the you get to a smartphone, helping you get from A to B. And this is where essentially iLocate is. The main barriers that the project has faced were, first of all, the lack of maps. You want to locate people, you want to bring them from A to B, you need to have a map. If you're outside, you have Google. If you're outside, you have OpenStreetMap. If you're inside, you have nothing. So the problem was to create also an infrastructure for mapping in those spaces. Then the ecosystem, now it should be clear why we need the technological ecosystem, and then the standards. As I said before, no standards is a no-go. So the objective number one was to create this database and the portal that can be used to create mapping, maps of indoor buildings. This is already operational. And if any of you is interested, I'll point you to that. So essentially, to cut a long story short, we have developed something like OpenStreetMap. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's a portal that can be used to create indoor maps. Why do we need this? Because if you are dealing with your own buildings, you want to make sure that you upload your own maps on your own buildings. The second objective is to create a technology, interoperable. Again, as I said, this is going to be released as an open source middleware. It is actually already available as open source middleware. And if you get a little bit more technical, you get essentially two blocks in iLocate. You get the toolkit, which is what we can use to locate objects, and this is available as open source, and then you have the portal to publish data. We are using several technologies, being interoperable. The advantage is that we can connect now to several technologies. We are also developing a number of apps. Well, we have several apps, especially designed also for medical doctors and nurses. They all extend the core apps that we have developed, for instance, for nurses, as I said. The other objective of the project was to deliver an infrastructure that was privacy sound. And this has been a challenge, but thank God we made it. And then maximize standards. I'm not going into details, but this is just a list of some of the standards that we have supported. Remember, standards are great. I always like to say standards are great. Everybody wants to have their own. But essentially, that's the point. You want to connect to everybody. That's the point of interoperability. The single most challenging objective of this project is this one, which is the piloting phase. Now, from July, we will deploy the technology, and from this basically summer, the pilot will go on pilot phase for 1 year. 1 year. So it's not one afternoon. And this means that they will be used by real users in real scenarios. And the scenarios are guidance of patients in healthcare path, smart tracking of medical devices, there we go again, and then guiding visitors. I want to visit a friend of mine in a hospital. I want to be routed from my door of my home to the doors that within inside the hospital. And the pilots are many. We have several pilots starting from this summer. One is the hospital. I'm just limiting to the hospitals. We have the hospital in Rovereto, where we will be locating patients and medical devices. The hospital in Malta. We have a hospital in Athens. So that's also nice for you to know. Then we have a hospital in Romania, Iulia, and then we have a house for the elderly in in Romania. I'm not going into the details, of course, but let me just give you an example of what we'll be doing. So you will be able to locate essentially those devices and those people within the buildings. And to do so, we have done this one, which is the road network for indoor. So imagine when you are outdoor and you want to get from A to B, you use the road network as the database to navigate you. But when you are indoor, you don't have the road network. And navigating indoor can be particularly complicated because if you're outside, you only have streets, but when you are inside, it's very complicated. You have higher degrees of freedom, you can move around, you have steps, you have lifts, you have escalators. The navigation metaphor is completely different. You cannot say, after 200 meters, turn right. We human beings say, go along the corridor, it's the last door on the right. So it's very different also the way you communicate. And I'm not going into the details of this, but we've started to do this, we have used to do this indoor navigation, a very old mathematical concept. I'd like to show this picture because we have used what is called Poincaré duality, and Poincaré is the gentleman with the beard in the front, and that lady there is Marie Curie. So it was a mathematician that invented a very nice theory, just a glimpse, because I think it's mathematically very interesting. So you have a room, then you have a representation in the dual space, which is a point. Then you have another room, and then you have another point in the logical representation, and then the wall, which connects the two rooms, becomes a line. So it's a very simple model, if you like. Then if you get simpler, and you are only in 2D, in a map, you have a room, and then you get a point, then another room, you get another point, and then you have a wall, which makes you have a connection. Now, through this mechanism, you can turn this, which is the inside of your hospital, into this. So essentially, you can know where connections are. And at that point, you can also know where doors are, and you can use that underlying structure to help guiding people in a computerized way from A to B within the building. And it's very complicated. It's very complicated because within buildings you have walking mode, as we call it, you have the wheelchair mode, as we call it, you have the navigation mode with robots, you have many different things. So let's say that the concept becomes so complicated that we have to supercharge the model. And essentially what we do is that we divide it into spaces, into areas, and then these areas can be divided into sub-areas. For instance, imagine the arrival of an airport. You want to get to checking gates. It's not enough to get to the arrival home, you want to get to the checking gates. So we have this concept of having a subspace within a space. And again, this translates into graph, and subgraph, and subgraph. It's complicated, I'm not getting into the details, but what is important to know is that it's very logically scalable. That's the important thing. And the beauty of this is that it can be connected to the outdoor graph, the road graph, the one that we were seeing before, so that navigation can be done from indoor, your home, road graph, public transportation, into indoor again. And again, this gets into the graph theory, so it's very complicated. Let me skip this. We finally get into the UNCAP. So UNCAP built on top of all these projects, whatever you have seen now. And the idea of UNCAP is to take location and essentially use it to make elderly people more independent. Now it's big consortium. Again, these projects tend to be very big. We also have a partner sitting in front. And the scenarios that we're dealing with are elderly people who need to live independently, at home, and location becomes an enabler for them to become safer. Let me just give you an example, and I'm not getting into the technical details. Imagine you have an elderly person at home, she is sleeping, and then at some point wakes up in the middle of the night. It's 2 a.m., stands up. Now, from our point of view, this is location and time. Standing up at 2 a.m. in the morning is not normal. Standing up at 2 p.m. might be normal. So if it's 2 p.m., nothing happens. If 2 a.m. and the person is standing up, the first thing that the system has to do is to turn on the lights. So this is the kind of approach where location becomes an enabler for a safer environment. Imagine another scenario, the technology that becomes proactive, engaging the person with games, cognitive and physical. Imagine a very trivial cognitive game. Do you remember where the remote control is? Do you remember where the container of the pills are? And of course, we know this because we use visualization. And again, this can be a reminder, remember to take the pills, and by the way, those pills are in the kitchen, or it can be a game. So this is what UNCAP does in a nutshell, really. And we are engaging a number of users from elderly people themselves, to nurses, to hospitals, to doctors, sorry. And what we are doing in technological terms is that we are using the number of commercial technologies retail technologies, the bracelets, or rather your TV, and we are creating an ecosystem that can be used to, let's say, tackle several scenarios. For instance, the wandering scenarios, as I said, the daily activity scenarios. Remember to take the pills are there. Or the preventive scenarios, so stimulating people. So UNCAP will integrate consumer-grade technologies, and we will do this through essentially standards. As I mentioned, these are an essential part of our team. And in the big picture, this is how the UNCAP house will get. So the house connected with all the devices, communicated through your TV, to which we will attach a dongle. A dongle is one of those little keys that you attach to your TV, and that makes your TV smarter, so to say. So smart TVs will be our gateway. And then, of course, now not going into the details, this means that you can enable services for elderly people. So again, we will also start a business model to make sure that we can have cloud-based services for those elderly people. Technical can be complex, but I'm not going into details. Believers that we will get there. And as I said, we are using some technologies. Let me show you just an example of very consumer-grade technologies. This is Kinect. I don't know if you can. It gets very fuzzy. I'm sorry for this, but you will have to trust me. In this video, you see a person lying. As soon as this person stands up, then it's identified. I also have other videos. I hope that okay, you can see the person now. And this is just Kinect. That's the solution used for. Okay, so I'm getting to the end, also because I'm at the 45 minutes now sharp. So from a company perspective, now I remove my hats, of course, I put my company hats on. Let's say for us, it's important to convey the message of location as an important driver for lots of business requirements. We clearly have a few market requirements that we are trying to target. We need to engage more stakeholders. In this case, the stakeholders is the community of experts. This is essentially to make sure that requirements coming from stakeholders can be then addressed by technology. And if you want to be innovative, well, I do believe that location-based services in the medical domain can become an enabling technologist for a company to emerge. And this is what we are trying to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe, for this excellent presentation, step-by-step guiding us through from the projects to the real-life situations and how all these technologies can become useful. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you very much. This was a very interesting presentation. I have some questions. First of all, does the device that you're proposing to have in each and every one part of the medical equipment that's going to be installed in the hospital, does it need to have the software installed in our devices, pre-installed? That's the first question. That goes along with the second one. Do we need internet and the GPS compatible device? So that means that we must have something so it can be located. So that makes it sound that it's going to be something a little bit expensive for the client. And that means also that hospital have free Wi-Fi for everyone. Is the hospital network ready for that to be able to be a host for everybody? How safe will that be for the data of the hospital?
Sure. Can you repeat the last one?
How safe all these applications will be for the data of the hospital, since the Wi-Fi must be free for everybody to use. So, but that's not a question. These for now.
Okay, good. I'll try to point. I know it's difficult because I'm removing again my project management hat and I put my company hat. So from a company perspective, one by one, not in order, but I'll try to answer to all of them. Wi-Fi open? No. you don't need that Wi-Fi open, because the only thing you need to have is to connect to the router and see that it's there. You don't need to connect to it to navigate and data. So for instance, in the case of the hospital, we are not giving access to the patient, to the visitors, to the internet within the hospital. They only have to be able to connect to ping, technically speaking, the network. So that's point number one. I would like to make a clear separation between the tracking of device and tracking of people. If you track device, you use tags. Those tags can be based on different technologies. Now, for instance, us as a company, we developed one of these systems, and we use as hardware essentially 3 different technologies. Wi-Fi. Why Wi-Fi? Because hospitals have their own Wi-Fi very often. It's already there, so you don't need to spend more. It's cheap, in other words. The problem of Wi-Fi is that when you do localization with these tags, it's very low accuracy. You're talking about 5 to 10 meters. It's very difficult, it's physically impossible to go beyond it. So what we do is that we propose also alternative platform, for instance, ZP, that you can get up to, let's say, a couple of meters or a meter, or now recently we also propose ultra-wideband. In ultra-wideband you can get down to centimeters, so it gets very precise. Now the cost of ultra-wideband infrastructure, it's in the range of Wi-Fi. Now the technology has come to a point that the cost is dropping while performance is skyrocketing. So why Wi-Fi has been constant, ultra-wideband has been free-falling. So now we are at a break-even. Now it costs you the same to have Wi-Fi or ultra-wideband. The difference is enormous. Point number one. Now if you use Wi-Fi, it means that you already have it. If you already have it, you know already that gives you interferences with the devices. So it's not our fault. So to say. If you don't use Wi-Fi, then I would recommend to use, for instance, ultra-wideband. In that case, just to give you an example. First of all, they are on the ISM band, so they are supposed to be working in, let's say, interference-free way with medical devices. Point number one. Then with ultra-wideband, you're talking about microwatts. Wi-Fi, you're talking about watts. This is microwatts, so it's a lot less than normal regular Wi-Fi. On top of this, Wi-Fi, you're always sending a signal, so it's like a line. With this ultra-wideband, it's very rare, and it's like big spikes. In other words, the interference, and it's microseconds. So the interference with the medical devices, with any, in that case, device, is absolutely non-existent. It's very, very limited. If you use Wi-Fi instead, you might have serious interference. Then when it comes to internet connection, you do not need an internet connection. You need to, if you want to connect all those devices, let's talk about medical assets. Those devices will connect to the local network of the hospital, the intranet. They can run on a separate network. And the only important thing is that somewhere, on a PC, on a tablet, wherever you have the software running, where you can see the map of the devices. But you don't need to be connected to the internet. In other words, the data always travel within the hospital. They never get out, unless you want to. The other question, maybe I forgot some.
I think everything is pretty much clearly covered. And another question, would it be safe, you mentioned about a place in the hospital where incubators and infants were there. Is it safe to the infants or people that might have pacemakers in the hospital?
Okay. For infants, it is safe. Again, the baseline is that we're talking about microwatts. We're not talking about huge power being transmitted. Just to give you an idea, and first of all, I'm not selling hardware. We're not developing hardware. I'm trying to make a clear statement where I'm saying that this technology is not conflicting with anything here. But for instance, there are companies in the US now manufacturing those tags as bracelets for the wrist or for the ankles of babies. So directly engineered to be used to locate babies within the hospital. And FDA is usually very tough with this.
Last question.
Good afternoon. It was very nice and interesting presentation. I have small question about the magnitude of order, the cost as regards the medical device location system.
Okay. As I said, if you're going for Wi-Fi, it's free, or maybe you have to add a couple of more routers to make sure that it's all covered. If you are going for the state-of-the-art, for instance, ultra-wideband, you're talking about overall figure, of course, from 1 to 4 euros per square meters in infrastructure. So let's say for 4,000 meters, you're talking about less than 10,000 euros. Okay? Which is not cheap, but it's not too expensive. 4,000 meters, it's a big infrastructure. So it's same order of magnitude of installing a new Wi-Fi. Same, or more or less the same magnitude. If you're talking about the tags, those tags, it depends on how many you buy, to be honest with you, but you're talking from 15 euros up to usually 30 euros. And again, it depends on what you want to have in the tags. To be honest with you, our experience is that there are pieces of equipment where it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But if you're talking about, for instance, infusion pumps, ventilators, thermal pads, they already cost quite a lot. So it's not those 15 or 20 euros that make the difference. What it makes the difference is to make sure you find it, first of all, and maybe through those technologies you need less. So that's the optimization. So the return on investment, this was one of the very first slides that I was showing, is absolutely clear. And this is based on real experience of real hospitals. It's not plain, it's good.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Again.